Howdy, my name's Tony Nestor. Thanks for joining the show on Desert Survival. Today I'm going to be talking about some survival kits, some survival gear, some specialized stuff for the desert you might want to consider carrying. But I want to talk about how survival situations happen in the first place. Most people who get lost in the wilderness each year, desert, mountains, forest, wherever, have two things associated with their survival situation. One is they didn't tell anybody where they're going. They didn't leave a travel plan. That is so important, telling somebody back home, your family, your wife, your spouse, your roommate, where you are going, so that if you don't return, they are your safety net on the other end. My wife and I have it worked out that if I say I'm going to be home at 6 o'clock and 8 o'clock rolls around and I'm still not there and I haven't called, then something's happened. She can be my safety net on the other end who can make the call to search and rescue or sheriff's department or wherever, notify them that I'm lost, where I'm at, then they can come get me if necessary. So you need to have somebody on the other end. They're your lifeline. If you bust an ankle, crack some ribs, get a spinal injury, you don't want to be stuck out there overnight and still have to take care of staying warm and building a shelter and finding water and all that stuff. So tell somebody where you're going. It's so important. Second thing is, most people don't bring enough gear to get through a night in the heat or the cold. They get into what's called the day hiker syndrome, as I call it. Now, day hiker syndrome happens because people think, I'm just going to go out for a little while out back. And most people who get lost, if you trace their survival situation back to earlier that day, to their thinking, to their mentality, it starts way back home. It happens long before they're lost out in the wilderness. It starts when they're sitting back on the couch at home and thinking, I've got a few hours before dinner here. I think I'm going to go for a drive in the backcountry and check out that road where I saw those elk last week. Or I'm going to go for a hike in the mountains or a trek in the desert with my dogs for a few hours. And because they think it's short term, because they're just going for a little while, they don't bring anything. They don't tell anybody where they're going. So most people get into that day hiker syndrome. 80% of the people get lost each year in the wilderness are day hikers. They're not people going hiking in the Grand Canyon for 2 weeks or going canoeing in Boundary Waters for a month. Those people are prepared. They've got a travel plan. They've got tons of gear. They've got their permits in order and the rangers know where they're at. The person who gets in trouble is the day hiker. So tell somebody where you're going, when you're going to be back, where you're parking, and carry some gear with you. I'm going to talk about what that gear should look like, what some of the survival kit items are that I carry. But you've got to do those two things. They're absolutely critical. You know, the ancient peoples out here, the Anasazi, the Sinawa, present-day Hopi, when they went out on the trail in ancient times, they brought with them a gourd canteen. They brought their obsidian knife. They brought some yucca rope. They brought some jerky. They brought a little herbal first aid kit. They brought their fire-making tools, their hand drill fire set. So if the prehistoric peoples who lived out here full-time carried all that stuff, why do we think we today as modern hikers can go out in the wilderness without anything and expect to be fine if we get lost? So carry gear with you. Tell somebody where you're going. Those are the most important things to remember. Second thing I want to talk about is the survival gear industry. I want to talk about some of the things you should carry, and I'm going to break down my kit here. So let's look at that stuff.